Hello, friends, and welcome to Profoundish. I'm your host, Weston Hasty, joined by my co-host, Alex Duquette. We will be talking about Halloween costumes, ghost stories, and later, on our segment, we will be sharing with each other scary stories we found on the internet. It's going to be spooky. You're listening to Profoundish. Welcome to Profoundish. I'm Weston Hasty. This is my co-host.
I'm Alex Duquette. I'm laughing because of the conversation that we just had.
Okay, listen, hear me out. I've had a very stressful day, everybody. I've had a very stressful day. I'm back in school, so I'm busy with that. When I'm not at work is calling me constantly because of issues, so I'm stressed with that. I wanted to get some Chinese after school today. Every Chinese restaurant in this city is closed today. Don't know why. Don't know if it's some kind of holiday. They're all closed. Couldn't get my Chinese. Swung through Taco Bell. Yeah, I've already told you all this, but this is just to fill in everybody listening because it's a story. Swung through Taco Bell, but I want to order online. I want to order on the app so I can get my $6 craving box. You can't get it in person. So I go online. I order what I want. I pull through the drive-thru. I'm like, okay, order for Weston. No big deal. You know, I just did it a minute ago. And they're like, we don't have that order. Don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, well, what the heck? I pull out of the drive-thru, get on my app. I've ordered for the wrong city. I mean, the correct city, I guess, but in the wrong state of the country. State. So my order had gone to a whole nother state, canceled the order. Thankfully, that worked out. I'm like getting all stressed out. I can't get my food. I've been working so hard. I go to Red Robin is a restaurant I like to partake in. Sometimes they have bottomless fries. I go there, order myself, these days, an overpriced burger. But whatever, it was delicious anyway. Ate way too many fries. Had a couple of beers to calm the old nerves. Needless to say, they were all very bloatware stuff, right? So I'm feeling very full and very heavy right now, all right? I'm like waddling out of the restaurant. I'm like a huffing and puffing, like, oh, God, Jesus, kill me. Drive myself back home. Yeah, what have I done? Mistakes were made. I stress ate. I wanted to spend like $5-6 at a Taco Bell and spent like $30 at a Red Robin's instead.
Their fries are delicious, though.
Their fries are good. I put the seasoned salt on it. It's good. Anyway, get home. I'm trying to take my stuff off. I'm like, I'm ready to get to this podcast. I turn to go up the stairs where my room is. There's a giant wolf spider sitting on the stairs, just chilling, staring me down, blocking my path.
The HP bar loads in at the top.
Yeah, bottle bass. I almost said bottle bass.
Bottle bass.
Bottle bass. Boss battle music starts playing. I get into a fight with this spider with a shoe. He didn't want to go down easily. Like, he caught the shoe midair and I tried to struggle back, but I overpowered him. Anyway, smashed him with a shoe. But I needed to get rid of the body. The corpse was far too large to leave on the staircase, so I vacuumed the sucker up. Breathing heavily, if I wasn't already coming in after combat, I certainly was. Crawled my way back up the stairs, plopped down to my chair. Alex is like, you ready to shoot this podcast? I'm like, I guess.
I just sat down.
I just sat down. I've had a long day. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I'm just picturing you, like, you know, I told you this a second ago. Just the amount of waddling is I figured it was highly exaggerated in my head, but you told me it was pretty bad waddling. So your arms are behind you, just you're animated in my head. You just
like my arms look so small compared to the rest of my engorged body. They're just barely poking out from the sleeves of my shirt right now as they kind of like swing back and forth uncontrollably.
Yeah, you look like you just like swallowed another Weston and you're just, okay, now I gotta kill this thing.
Oh my gosh. So one thing I am definitely actively working on. Did we talk about this on my podcast or did we talk about this on your 2Ps podcast? How sometimes mid-podcast I just have to take my pants off?
That was here. This was last week, I believe. Yeah.
We're currently performing one of the fabled pant removal surgeries right now because I can't take the belt anymore. I'm too restricted. Pants are off.
I will now be taking off my pants.
So if you are in a position at home listening to this podcast to remove your pants, join me in a show of brotherly solidarity and remove thine pants.
You just hear belts like those little like belt buckle jingles and pants falling, hitting the floor across the world, across the nation.
Yeah, I got the belt buckle jingles. I'm trying to jingle my belt right now in front of the mic.
Jingle belt, jingle my belt.
That is the entirely wrong parody for this holiday. It is Halloween tomorrow.
Ooh, it is.
Jingle belt, jingle belt. We'll have to make a reappearance in December if we remember.
Yeah, we'll remember that. Yeah.
It is. Oh God. If I don't die and become a ghost by the end of this, I swear.
Listen, I'm sorry. You're making me laugh so much because I hate to say it, but everybody, I'm just going to say this right now. I woke up this morning refreshed, ready to go. I went to my day job. It was a laid back day. I left a little early, came home, and I relaxed for a minute and hit record. So
the dichotomy of man. You had to have an amazing day, so I had to have a stressful day. You know, the yin, the yang, the balance in the universe.
There is a balance in the universe, yeah. So don't worry, it's coming my way again soon. I'm sure I'm going to have a wobbling, fighter spiting, no Chinese eating, wrong state food ordering day soon.
I know. I don't actually wish that upon you. I hope that doesn't happen.
Thank you. You know what kind of sucks actually is my favorite Chinese spot right here in town, in my neck of the woods, just closed permanently out of the blue. There was no there was no sign. It's already like set up to be a new restaurant, new business, not even Chinese. It really hurt my heart because it was one of my go-tos, kind of similar to you. Like I don't know if you did eat Chinese out of stress, but like when I've had a long day, I want Chinese food. I love to just bang that down. So, and now it's gone.
Yeah, like Chinese food is my right before before shooting this podcast. Chinese was one of my not every time, but before we'd shoot this is one of the things I would do. I'd get off of school, I'd order my Chinese, I'd have my Chinese, cause that way I didn't have to cook anything, right? Because then I could sit down, eat my Chinese, prepare for the podcast, and then we'd be ready to shoot or whatever. That was one of the things I like to do. And I got on and I'm like, closed. Well, okay, how about this Chinese place? Closed. How about this Chinese place? It opens later. Like, for whatever reason, it opens, like, in the middle of dinner. Okay, odd, but I don't have time for that. It's like, what the frick is going on?
Maybe there has to be a Facebook group with all these, just these Chinese restaurants in America going, okay, today we're all just going to close. We need to relax. We work too hard. Today was that day, Weston. Today was that day.
Apparently.
You need to join that Facebook group so you know.
I wanted chicken and lo mein and egg rolls, my guy. Man, what do I have to do?
I love egg rolls. Have you ever had a shrimp egg roll? Like it's got all the shrimp in it too?
I'm not a big fan of seafood in general, so usually I stay away from shrimp. I'm more of a chicken guy with pretty much everything, so yeah.
Never mind. Well, more for me. Anyway, it's Halloween, isn't it?
It's Halloween tomorrow. Trick or treat. Smell my feet.
Yeah, give me something good to feet. No, to eat. Give me something feet.
Where does that
feet
even
pics,
come
send feet
from?
pics.
Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. Was there more to that rhyme? I don't remember. I don't know why it was smell my feet. It was an old children's rhyme of some kind, I guess.
I think it turned into something more. They had trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat, ba da da, ba ba ba, ba 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 ba. I think it goes that long. But I don't know what the rest is. Or maybe there isn't, and we're just doubling it for some reason.
I feel like there has to be. You remember the old, this isn't actually Halloween-y, but I mean, people dress up as like superheroes for Halloween, so it kind of fits. Yeah. You know the old, like, what was the old Batman, Red Robin laid an egg? You know what I'm talking about? What was that?
What song was it to?
I don't remember. There was a song where Robin lays an egg. Maybe that was a Christmas one. Was that a Christmas parody?
I think it was Christmas.
I think it was. Well, you know what? Put a pin in that. We'll come back to that in December.
We'll go back to that in the Christmas episode.
But
with Jingle My Belt.
But yeah, some people dress as like Batman or Robin. No, it's like superheroes. Some people dress as like ghosts and goblins and such. Uh-huh. Did you have a history of trick-or-treating?
Oh, of course. Yes. Loved trick-or-treating as a kid. In fact, I really loved it. And I know you did too, because we did it. Our last year doing it, I think we were like 15. Yeah, it was a small town. It's a little different. But
yeah, we were teenagers. I don't remember exactly how old we were, but yeah, something like that, where we did go on a trick-or-treating thing together, but we didn't know each other as actual children. So I didn't know, like, what are some of like favorite costumes and things you trick-or-treated as? Any cool stories along those lines?
Actually, yes. My mom got very creative, and I'm so thankful now, because looking back at these pictures, I'm so impressed with what she did. So I was a big Scooby-Doo fan. This is probably my favorite. So I was a big Scooby-Doo fan, And I believe one year we got like a Scooby-Doo suit and I wore it and I was Scooby-Doo. But I loved Scooby-Doo so much when I was a kid that I wanted to do something again the next year. So we didn't want to repeat the same thing. So what happened was we gave my buddy the Scooby-Doo costume, and then my mom took a giant cardboard box and painted the Mystery Machine, and she put windows in it so I could see out of it, and I was the Mystery Machine, which was really awesome. So, and it was big enough to where my friend could get in the back of it too, so we'd walk around our little town in our little cardboard box, and it looked really great. I got to find that picture. Maybe we can post it on our social media or something, because it's really, she did a great job. So that was probably my favorite that I ever did as a child.
That's a good one. That's pretty clever. You're not, Freddy or Shaggy or whatever. You're just literally the machine, the Mystery Machine.
The Mystery Machine. I will say one other one I'll give a shout out to that I loved as well. This was kind of right when this trend started. Like these. I lied to you. I don't know if this is when it started or not, but I remember it started to get popular. These costumes where it looks like you're being carried around, but you're the legs,
right?
But then it looks like your legs are sticking out, right? So it looks like someone's got you and you're running around.
Yeah.
So my mom must have gotten wind of that, and she made like her own version of it. She didn't buy this; she created this. So she got this black cloak and then she made a paper mache alien head, like a classic alien head, like green, the big black eyes, right? And then she created a contraption somehow in which he was holding on to me. My legs were sticking out, and then my legs were the alien. But it was all homemade, so that was really cool, too. She really got creative, now that I think about it, back in those days. So that was fun.
She really went all out on Halloween. I didn't have any, crazy... we didn't really create our costumes so much, other than maybe... I don't really remember some articles of clothing had to be put together from other places or whatever, but we didn't really go all out in creating our costumes. When I was a teeny tiny child of, I don't know, 4, right? I don't even remember this because I've just seen pictures. I definitely had a Batman costume, and my younger brother had a Robin costume, so we were like Batman and Robin. But I have no memory of that because that was far too young for me. I was weirdly obsessed with the show, and I was so young. This is more time about 6, 7, 8 years old or whatever. So I don't remember it very well, but I was obsessed with the show Zorro. Old black and white show that our parents probably watched, but for some reason I watched Zorro, the Cape Mask Crusader. It's set in, I don't remember if it's just set literally in Mexico or if it was set in Texas while it was in Mexican control. I don't remember exactly where it was set, but it's in Mexico. Zorro's this masked Avenger or whatever. And the show was an old style black and white drama, and I don't know why, but I was obsessed with that show. I thought he was so cool. Such a cool character. So one of the earliest costumes that I actually remember wearing and being excited about was I dressed up like Zorro. And this is at a time
that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. This was at a time, too, I had a lot of speech problems as a child. I couldn't say a lot of letters and a lot of sounds. One of them was literally the Z sound. Zzz. I couldn't make that sound at all. So being Zorro, I would try to tell people who I am, but I couldn't say Zorro. I also couldn't pronounce my R's. And Zorro has R's in it. So people would ask me what I am.
Yeah, what'd you call it?
Soa. I'm Soa. What the heck's a Soa? I'm Zorro. I'm Soa.
That's hilarious. That reminds me, my sister, when she was young, she had a little bit of a speech impediment going on for quite a while, and it was mainly just R's, but she had an obsession with pirates for a while. Arr. So she'd pretend to be a pirate, but what do you say as a pirate? You say arg, right? So she's she goes, I'm a pirate. So suddenly she was just yelling in pain because she's a pirate.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, but yeah, with the Zorro thing, the only reason why I'm even familiar with that look is because it was parodied. I can't say it right now, but parodied in Princess Bride.
Yes,
he was parodied in that. So I know that, but I didn't know this was an old show. That's really cool.
It's a really old show.
It's actually a cool look.
That's why I was. I think that's why I was obsessed with it. I thought it was so cool. There's a lot of old shows I watched when I was a kid that were old for my age that I had no idea what was going on. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No. Same with me. I watched a lot of old shows. I feel like it's something that the current. I feel like could be wrong, but I feel like the current generation just doesn't look back as much as we did. we watched so many old shows that came out before us. I noticed, at least it feels like that, with my friends and peers that are around our age. But side tangent, different topic, another time. But I was just going to also say one thing that I thought was really cool, and this was before really the super mainstream all knew who this character was, but I was already obviously in love with video games, and I'm a big Zelda fan, and I wanted to be Link. So this was long before you could get like a Link costume, right? This didn't exist then, because this was like early. And so I went as Link, so my mom found some sort of green-related tunic thing, and I got the sword, and I got a shield, and all this, and I felt awesome. But when I was going around town, especially then, before it was as popular as it is now, everyone's like, they thought I was either Peter Pan or Robin Hood, like with a sword. That's all they thought, which makes sense, but it made me so frustrated as a child. Like, no, I'm Link! Like, who the hell is Link?
I'm not Peter Pan! I'm not trying to fly!
Right. Peter Pan does not wield the Master Sword. You don't understand.
He did have a little wooden sword, I think, right? Didn't he have, in the movie, did he have like a little wooden sword he played with in at least one scene, maybe?
Yeah, in like the song, like they like played Pretend or something, and he had like the wooden sword, yeah.
I could definitely see Peter Pan.
So, yeah, but I got Peter Pan, which is actually a big inspiration for Link anyway, but yeah, I just remember I did that. And then I remember I addressed him one more time a couple years later, and this was like post Ocarina of Time. It was actually in a different town. It was in the town that we both grew up in, and by this point had a little more popularity, and people knew who I was, and I felt validated that time.
I feel vindicated.
So that was nice. Did you ever? A lot of kids did this. Were you ever a Power Ranger?
Oh, I loved. I don't remember being him for Halloween though. But I loved the red Power Ranger because my favorite color was red.
Of course.
I don't remember if I was him for Halloween, though. I don't think I ever was.
I remember getting really ticked off when a kid in my class I wanted to be blue because blue was my favorite color at the time. And he was already blue, and I refused to change, so I was blue. So in our class, there were 2 blue Power Rangers. And I felt like there was this, like, kind of this small competitiveness to it, but I was too shy to really talk to him. So
like this Cold War of the Power Rangers in class.
But it was probably just in my head. He probably didn't care at all. Actually, you know what? We were like in first grade. He had to have cared too. He had to have.
Deep down, he didn't care because he was like, I know I'm the best. He's just playing it cool like that, and you're the one that's like sweating it out. Like, oh, yeah, what do I do?
Exactly. I'm over there going, I'm afraid to talk to him. Like, I don't know this kid. I don't want to talk to him. So, like, yeah, he won. He definitely won.
You guys should have been both blue Power Rangers from like different timelines or something. That could have been legit. Could have teamed up. You just should have been thinking more deeply about this as an 8-year-old or whatever you said you were.
You know what? Yeah, you might have been there at that point. For me, I was still thinking about mainly just Scooby-Doo and Power Rangers. That was about it at that age.
What if the Power Rangers were in the Mystery Machine? What colors would be which characters? Would blue be Freddy? Ooh. I guess green would be Shaggy.
Yeah.
Pink would be Daphne, I guess. Yellow would be Velma. Is there an orange? I thought it was yellow. Right?
I know there's a yellow.
Blue, red, yellow, pink, green. There's just 5 Power Rangers, right? Or am I crazy?
Well, there's more in different shows. It depends. I think you're thinking of like the main one that like we watched, but I wish our friend Hayden was on here because he's like a huge Power Rangers nerd. He's watched all the shows, even the ones that never came to America. It's crazy.
You'd be like, but actually, there's 13 different colors of the Power Rangers, and the 13th one is evil.
That's pretty good. Actually, I'm pretty sure there was
a black Power Ranger. I think there was a black, brown, and orange. You know what? I'm literally looking. I'm going to look up colors.
There's a black one.
Power Rangers.
You know, the Power Rangers fans. Yeah. Is there a white?
I think there was later. Yeah, I'm looking at a white Power Ranger right now.
There it is.
Mostly the colors are dominated with red, blue, black, yellow, and pink. Several series of Power Rangers expose white as its part inside the squad. Each color has its unique blah, blah, blah. 12 Power Ranger colors explained. I guess there's 12.
12?
I was close when I said 13, actually.
Yeah, you were very close. There's no brown, though.
8 Power Ranger colors you didn't know existed. Okay, I'm clicking on it.
Yeah, we got to check this out. You know, all these Power Rangers fans listening are just like, how do you guys not know this?
I don't.
Why some of these look cool. They're silver. That's cool.
I think our listeners are more like, this is not Halloween related, guys.
Yeah, I know. I want to get scared, dang it, and we're talking about Power Rangers. What are we doing?
Okay, so there's a bunch of different colors. You know, there's been a lot of different series of Power Rangers, so I'm not surprised. I see like gold and white and all kinds of stuff.
Wait, are you still on that article right now?
Yeah.
Go to purple and look at the bottom middle one. Was this you when you were fighting the spider?
I'm looking at one.
Bulkmeyer?
Maybe I'm not in the same article, or I'm not seeing the same picture.
Hold on. I'm going to send this to you right now through Discord.
Okay.
Click this link. It's worth the waiting here for a second. Thank you for being patient, everybody. I need you to look at this. Go to the purple one.
Okay, I'm working
and look
on
at
it.
Farkas Bulkmeyer.
Blue. I'm looking for the purple one, right? Green.
And then I'll describe it as soon as he sees it.
Black, white, silver, gold, gray, purple. Here we go. I'm looking for
Was that you fighting the boss?
That's
fighting
not
the spider?
real. What the frick is this? Yes.
So everybody, while you're listening, type in Farkas Bulkmeyer. Bulkmeir or Meier.
Yeah. The purple.
Oh my gosh.
Farkas Bulkmeyer. That was definitely me coming home this afternoon to fight a spider. Maybe the spider was a little Power Ranger or something. I don't know. This looks like a villain. This looks like if what's in Legend of Zelda? Which one's the pig version? Ganondorf?
Ganon.
This looks like Power Rangers and Ganon combined. This is Ganon in a Power Ranger costume.
It really does. It's got skinny legs, a big old belly, like hunched over.
Or maybe even a Dr. Eggman situation going on from Mega Man or whatever. Mega Man? Sonic.
Sonic. I knew what you meant.
I'm dumb.
Man, I tell you, we are upsetting so many fandoms today.
Well, I didn't play like very much at all Legend of Zelda. Definitely not growing up. It wasn't until years later I touched a Zelda thing at all. And then Sonic, I played like one game ever on the what was Sega's version of the Game Boy? The Game Shark? Game
Gear.
Game Gear. I played like one game ever on that, and I didn't get very far because I was very bad at it. So like these are not my fandoms that I'm familiar with, to be fair.
I could keep us straight on the Zelda fandom. Yeah, Sonic for me though, same. I actually have never played one of the OG Sonics. I just played like Sonic Adventure, whatever, the one that was on like the GameCube, and that I played that one. And then Mega Man, I hear great things. I'm a retro gamer, and I feel almost ashamed to say I've never played a Mega Man game in my life.
I've played 2. I forget which one we had that was the more classic style Mega Man. I don't remember if it was Mega Man 8 or whichever one it was. I don't really remember. And then the one that I was actually a bigger fan of was Mega Man X Command Mission. It was a squad tactics-based RPG Mega Man. I loved it. It was great. But
that sounds up your alley. That's a weird genre for that. Seems like it would be.
Yeah, it was a complete departure from the usual Mega Man stuff, but it was also Mega Man X, which in the Mega Man like canon is like a different Mega Man anyway. So, and I don't know a lot about that. I wasn't deep in Mega Man, but I know enough to know that there's like different Mega Men throughout the different like versions that they've been throughout, whatever. But those are like the 2 Mega Man games I've played.
Well, you got me beat. And we digress.
We do. The evil villain in Mega Man, by the way, is like Dr. Wily, and that's like my brother's name. So
your brother? I was about to say all I could think of is just your brother in like a white like coat.
That's him. That's the guy.
There he is, Dr. Wily. I love it. Good name. Well,
now that we've got a little bit of time left, we've talked about some of our favorite costumes. I want to ease into a slightly different topic, but it's still Halloween. Do you have any spooky do you have any ghost stories? Have you ever seen or encountered a ghost or something that you couldn't explain before?
Yes, actually, I do. I didn't think you were going to ask this, but yeah, I do. Now, I actually did tell this, little shout out to the Two Piece Podcast. I actually did tell the story once before. So this isn't exclusive, I'm afraid, but it's really my only personal ghost experience that I can think of, if you want to call it that. So
Sure.
when I was, and I'd love to hear if you've got any too, but basically, I can't remember how old I was. I was probably 13, maybe 12, 13, around that age. My dad was married to someone for a very long time, and she had a nephew, so he was like my step cousin, basically. But they'd come over and visit all the time, so we'll just call him my cousin to keep it simple. So my cousin would come to visit, and he was around the same age as me, and he was really into the ghost hunter shows.
Yeah.
So he kind of started to get me into this and kind of being more open to looking for it for a while. Like, he kind of got me into it. I was glued to that ghost hunter show at the time, and he was like, "Now here's a little insight into kind of personal life of Alex." For a while, I actually lived in and you know this, of course, but for the listeners, I actually lived in a converted church, an old church in our hometown. So, and we kept a lot of the original, anything that we could keep original, we kept in that church. So, like, we had the old stained glass window still, and it was really cool. But anyway, he was in love with that idea because he thought, oh, you never know, And he was telling me, in the old Lutheran churches, way back in the day when they would have funerals, they'd put the caskets in the basement before they'd bring them up and do the, and he would scare the living daylights out of me because my room was in the basement at the time, So anyway,
I'm Lutheran. I will not confirm nor deny.
Well, for a while, he was staying one summer, and I remember, I don't even think we were doing any sort of ghost exploring at the time. We had many efforts to do that before and never came across anything. And then there was this one night we were laying in, like, my room upstairs, my room converted to upstairs, there was 2 twin beds and kind of 2 different sides of the room, and we both had our own bed. And we were just watching the TV in there, just a casual, I guess, TV watching encounter. And I remember what happened was we were both laying down, door was closed to my knowledge, and all I remember is that he was laying there, I was laying on the other bed. He had the remote on his bed with him because he was the one flipping the channels or whatever. I remember the power went out, or like the lights went out for a moment, and they came back on. That wasn't unheard of. That happens sometimes, And so everything went off. I always freak out in general when the power goes off for a second. Like, that first second of it happening, like just the very first half second, you're like, what just happened? Like, that shock. So the lights came back on just momentarily. It was no more than a second or two. And when the light came back on, the remote was on my bed with me. People don't believe this. I swear, I would have heard if he'd thrown it. Like, he didn't throw anything. There wasn't enough time for him to throw it. And if he did, it wouldn't have been perfectly laying next to me on my bed. We both saw that, and we were like, oh my God, this is weird. Like, we were all into it. Then the minute something like that happened, it really freaked us out. I did not sleep that night. So that is that really did happen. He had that remote. I did not have it with me. And then it just moved over. That was the strangest occurrence I've ever had.
Power goes out and the remote flies across the room. No one sees it land, and there it is.
It's so... it still kind of irks me because I really can't explain that. That's all. I'm not saying it's one thing or the other, but I cannot explain how that happened.
Yeah, like, my best rational explanation for that is that it was on the bed next to you, like, the whole time. At some point in time that you just forgot, like, your dad handed it to you or whatever, and you forgot about it. Then the power went out and it came back on, and for some reason the remote stuck in your mind. You're like, wait, that wasn't there, and you just both kind of collectively forgot that it was passed off. That's like the most rational explanation I can think of off the top of my head, obviously. That doesn't include ghosts, but...
Right. Well, I like that explanation better. Nothing ever happened since, though. That was, over a decade ago at this point. You have anything?
I don't have much. I don't really believe in ghosts, despite the number of ghosts that have tried to convince me otherwise.
That is an interesting sentence.
It is. I've had weird things happen to. So, like, at work, the old story goes that our work Subway used to be a chicken restaurant. Before it was a chicken restaurant, it was actually this tiny podunk bank, right? And the story goes that the bank owner had a daughter there, and the bank had a basement. And during some kind of storm or something, she was down in the basement and the doors got slammed shut and they wouldn't open when an electrical fire started because of the storm. And so the building caught fire and everyone evacuated. Everybody except the bank owner's daughter. She perished in that fire and continued to haunt the spot for many years to come. So the story we tell people at the subway is that we have a haunted subway. We do have a ghost girl that's been dead for decades that flits about and likes to mess with things. So sometimes things are out of place. We'll go down to the basement, for example, where she perished. We keep our dry goods down there. So we'll keep our boxes of chips and stuff like that. You'll find stuff. You'll come down, like after, in the morning. You open up the shop, go downstairs. I need to grab some gloves, boxes of gloves. Go downstairs. There'll be a box of gloves in the middle of the floor. 15 feet away from the shelf it's actually on. Weird stuff like that. Lights will come on. Toasters will turn off. That kind of thing. I remember telling a new person that started working all about this ghost that, you should be wary. She's not dangerous, but we are haunted, and there's a little ghost girl that likes to mess with us. And no sooner had I explained this story to the new person, the clock on the wall next to the sink where we were both speaking flew off the wall and landed on my shoe.
Whoa. What?
I could not have set it up any better. Literally, like, hey, just to let you know, the place is haunted by a dead ghost girl that died here many decades ago. And no sooner had I said that, this round clock, about the size of a small dinner plate, flew off the wall, didn't fall and bang on a counter and roll my way, flew off the wall, landed just short of me, and landed on my shoe.
Wow, what timing. Wow. That's weird. I don't know what to say to that. You told me about...
That's not the only time that's happened after I've explained the ghost story, but that's the most dramatic. I have explained a ghost before, and we've heard a thunk in the basement from, like, a package falling over. But this was the first time a physical object in full view of everybody flew off a wall.
Weird. That's bizarre.
And that's
bizarre, especially the timing.
That's one ghost. There's another ghost that I think used to haunt me as a kid and whisper in my ear before I'd fall asleep.
That is horrifying.
That one's just kind of creepy.
I'm not even smiling.
I would try to fall asleep, and I would just hear it was like a woman's voice saying Weston, or hey, or just something like to get my attention. My eyes would just just spread open. I'd look around, and I'd be looking around to see if anyone's there, and no one ever was. I would just hear a voice from time to time. Doesn't happen so much anymore. I did get into a fight with a lamp that I thought it was a person because I used to sleepwalk a lot. So I remember thinking that there was a person hovering over me in bed, and I got into a fight with it, and then I actually kind of like woke up for realsies because I was like half asleep, half sleepwalking. Woke up for realsies and realized I was strangling my lamp. But those could be chalked up to night terrors. You could chalk that up to like just before you fall asleep, you start dreaming and you hear a voice or something. You could chalk that up. So it's a little less severe, but kind of more creepy than my work ghost.
I used to have this. This was just an imagination thing, but it really did scare me. I think I had a dream once, maybe a night terror. I don't know if I've ever actually had a night terror, but I mean, I've had some pretty rough dreams when I was a kid. And I remember in the daytime, so I was one of those kids that was afraid of the dark. So, one of those things where like, hey, I need to run down the hall to grab something out of the bathroom, and I'm running as fast as I can if it's nighttime because it's dark in the hallway, right? I used to have, I still actually see this image in my mind, still, vividly, going in to like, so my mom, in this one house we lived in a trillion houses, but in one particular house we lived in, she had this bathroom, and I only see it in this bathroom, but I would have to go into her bathroom and grab things, or I'd use her bathroom sometimes, which is just connected to her bedroom, and I'd always walk in there, and like, I'd always turn on the light to the bedroom first, obviously, because you're in there first, and then some of the lights kind of going into that dark bathroom, but then you have to turn the bathroom light on to really see, of course. But I remember this distinct memory of me walking in through her room. I was going to use that bathroom, and before I turned on the bathroom light, there's just some of that room light going in there. There was this weird creature with like strangly long hair and like just like strangely. I know this is my imagination, or please God, I hope it is. But anyway, strangly long hair, and like it's facing the wall. It's not facing me. So the toilet is like if you're walking into the bathroom, the toilet's facing left. So, like, they'd be looking straight on. They'd have to turn left to look at you, right? So it'd be looking straight off into the wall. Strangly hair, these giant, like this really gross, like witch-like skin, and these giant eyes, like they're like textured like pepperoni, but it's glowing. I know it sounds weird, but super gross, nasty eyes, and then it would turn at me, blink once, and then it just disappear.
Oh.
And horrifying. It's like just sitting, just really skinny, scrangly hair, parted at the sides, and then it would just turn and look at me, and then that scared the living F out of me. And then I would run away and use the other bathroom. And I still have that image in my head. It'll never go away.
What if you did just have a late-night pooping poltergeist in your house? Like, that's just a legit cryptid that you had living.
Who knows? I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go. But
because I find it interesting that it would blink and disappear, not you would blink and it would disappear. I find that fascinating.
It would blink and, yeah, it was very strange. It would just be gone. Then I would just, oh my God. By the way, can we make a children's like spooky book called The Pooping Poltergeist? Absolutely.
It should be based on your scary pepperoni-eyed ghost thing. I think that'd be amazing. I think we should make this happen, put it on Amazon. It'll be great.
The Poopy Geist.
Maybe we can get Gella to animate. Not animate, but draw it for us. She'll illustrate it. She's got some cool, creepy pictures she's done. That'd be great.
Gella totally would. Shout out to Camp Nostalgic. Check them out.
All right. Besides that, we need to move on to our next segment, Alex. It's getting late. Late at night, spooky evening, witches hour. Whoa! See you on the other side of this advertisement. Bye.
Goodbye.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by HastilyMadeDecision.com. Get your poetry fix from my poetry blog featuring haiku, senryu, freeform stuff, and more. Again, that's HastilyMadeDecision.com for your poetry fix.
Profoundish is brought to you in part by The Two-Piece Podcast, a show where my significant other and I compare and contrast our top 5 lists on a variety of topics. Not only is it fun, but we also provide facts and trivia about our topics. Come laugh, learn, and listen to The Two-Piece Podcast on your preferred platform of choice.
Welcome back, everybody. Like, what if we didn't come back? The segment was just nobody. There'd be the advertisement and then just static for half an hour.
Dude, that's horrifying. That actually would be really scary.
Speaking of really scary.
We should consider that.
We should. Next time. Yeah. Maybe for April Fools.
Yeah, for April Fools, do that. But forget that. So by the time it's April Fools, you won't know. All right.
We've got... Yeah, enough!
Enough fun! No more fun!
No more fun! The fun stops now. And instead of fun, now we have nothing but fright and fear. Ooh. We have prepared, I have prepared a scary, spooky story, and Alex has prepared a scary, spooky story. And by prepared, I mean we found on the internet. I found mine on the internet. Did you find yours on the internet?
I did find mine on the internet.
We have both found spooky, scary stories to share with you all from the internet. Mine is pretty much plagiarized. I will be just reading what I found verbatim. I will cite it later, but... Some of you listening may find this story familiar because actually it's kind of a story that popped up in popularity kind of here recently. Like there's a splurge of people like kind of talking about the story. But if you haven't heard about it, I'm going to tell it. So that's mine. I'm not sure what Alex has in store for us.
Well, it's similar. I found this on I believe I found this on a website. I'll cite it maybe at the end here, but I found it on a website where I think there's a lot of other people that also write their own horror stories. So it seems like kind of a smaller author, and a lot of people talked about it. But I really am drawn to the particular theme of this, I guess, so which we can talk about. But yeah, it's kind of similar thing to you.
Okay, cool. I know what I was originally going to prepare for this was, I was telling Alex before this, I'm like, what I originally thought I was going to tell for this segment, I started researching far too much, and it became like this huge, massive thing that would take like an entire episode to talk about. And I'm like, well, I don't have an entire episode. I have just a few minutes.
Right.
So which one of us wants to tell our story first?
I don't know. How should we do this? Do we want to flip a coin here?
Should we do rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, scissors over Discord?
Yeah. What would be a spooky Halloween version of rock, paper, scissors? Like Ghost, Vacuum, and Luigi or something?
Luigi? Who beats what?
I think Ghost beats Luigi. Vacuum beats Ghost. I guess Luigi beats Vacuum.
Okay, if you can remember that, because I'll forget. Let's just think of one in our heads, and we have to do an honor system.
Okay, we'll do that.
Or we can just count down, do a 3, 2, 1, then say it.
3, 2, 1, and we'll both say the thing that we want to do.
Okay.
So this is between Ghost, Vacuum, Luigi. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Luigi.
Vacuum.
I win.
So what is that? So what does winning mean? Does that mean you're going first?
I guess it means I pick. I'll just go first. That'll be easier.
Okay. All right.
All right. Here we go. This is my story. You have to follow up whatever. Oh my God! There's something in my way, and I can't read my story now. Here we go. Perfect.
I'm nervous. Everyone.
There we go.
Really quick, everybody, dim the lights.
Dim the lights.
Dim the lights. Light a candle.
In fact, turn the lights off. You're listening to this podcast. You don't need to see anything. Turn the lights off. Put the audio on. Close your eyes. Lie down in bed. Try not to think about how the window could have someone looking at you through it right now.
Right. And did you lock the door? Too late. You're already in bed. You're not.
My story is the story of the Smiling Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's an internet creepypasta that's popped up in popularity here lately. So if you're familiar with it, dear listener, well, this is my telling of it. If you're not familiar, allow me to share with you this story. About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the U.S. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommate that even the drug dealers in the city were polite, but all of that changed in just a few minutes of one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I turned down a short side street in order to loop back to my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me by. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was a very tall and lanky and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still until I could make out his face. His eyes were open, wide, and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back and then stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments, I felt relieved, until I noticed him. He had crossed the street, and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked that I stood there for some time staring at him, and then he started moving toward me again. He took giant, exaggerated, tiptoed steps as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone, except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point I ran away, or pulled out my pepper spray or my cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen as the smiling man crept toward me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling his smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to ask was, "What do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimpered, "What?" Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice, and that only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then after what felt like forever, he turned around, very slowly, and started dance walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go, until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched in horror as the distant shape of him grew larger and larger. He was coming back my way, and this time he was running. I ran too. I ran until I was off of the side road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. For the rest of the way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile. But he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that night, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane. That's a very, very scary thing to see. That's my story of the smiling man.
Oh, goodness. That's eerie.
It is. It's so super duper creepy.
Oh, yeah. I'm not familiar with this story. You said it's a pretty popular creepypasta?
I saw it kind of gaining popularity. I saw it popping up, actually, interestingly enough, around the gaming space on YouTube. There's a game someone made based on this exact same story. That's what caught my attention, and so a few YouTubers were playing it, so it started kind of making its rounds again. It's a creepypasta. I'm reading this off of fandom.com, specifically creepypasta.fandom.com, on the smiling man. I don't know if the author is... the author is credited as blue_title. So blue title, you wrote this. I completely plagiarized it, just read it out loud. But I mean, the idea... Like I said, it's an internet creepypasta. These things get shared around, so this is just me kind of sharing it with all of you.
Well, that's honestly the creepiest part to me, I think, is just the movement, the description of the movement, like the graceful nature of his movement. That freaks me out. The weird, like, I've always been freaked out by taking like innocent sounding things and skewing them. That's always freaked me out. So, ugh.
Yeah,
I've never heard that.
And then just imagining that this is like a silent dance walk where this man's just, I mean, like, it's like a waltz where he's just kind of like moving almost, like you said, like gracefully, but like it's unnatural because he's using it to like sort of lurch his way forward as he walks or whatever. And you just imagine a man silently doing that towards you with a smile on his face. You're like, what's this guy's intentions? Where is he going? What is he doing? And there's something about it being like a waltz that feels like so with purpose. Like, you know, the story says he didn't seem drunk or high. Just crazy. Right. And it's something that like this is something you could conceivably encounter like in real life. Like you could just run into this guy at night anywhere, I guess, right?
Yeah. This is why I don't want to live in the city.
I used to it kind of connected with me a little bit. I used to, in our hometown, I used to do a lot of night runs. I would go running at like 11 or midnight at night and run for a couple of miles around our hometown. So it's a small town. I felt completely safe, not an issue whatsoever. But when I moved to this city, I stopped doing my runs at night because, one, I'm less familiar with the city, and two, the area that I started running at during the day is quite lovely, but it's like kind of like partly wooded. And I thought it would be a bad idea to be running through a partly wooded area at like midnight. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to jump me, but I just didn't want to poke the bear, you know? So, but I can imagine. Yeah, I could imagine being on a run or a walk or whatever, and there being some creepy dude or whatever, and just not knowing quite what to do.
Right. Yeah, and then like the getting big at the end, he seems to be getting bigger. Oh, ugh. Yeah, I never heard that. I like that. I do. I will say too. I don't find myself. I'll read a few creepypastas here and there, but I don't really like to. I don't read this in my spare time.
Oh, I don't
really
either.
Into and I think we talked about this on the show. Actually, we're not really into the scary, spooky stuff that much. So, but that was good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, what have you got?
I've got a pick here. So it's a little different than yours. I'll say that. I guess I won't say much. I think I'll just read it and kind of let it speak for itself.
Sure.
This is not a creepypasta. This is actually this is a written story by a smaller author. So This is called Selfies.
Ooh.
Picture 733. In one of the last pictures I am running down the street. Oh, I do want to say this before I get into it, sorry. There are a few naughty words in this. I'm going to read it as intended. I just wanted to let you know if you got anyone listening who may not like those words, there's going to be a few in here. Okay.
Noted.
Picture 733. In one of the last pictures I am running down the street, and it is dark. The street lamps are dim, and the light oozes down sickly and yellow. I can feel my heart almost bursting in my chest, the taste of something sour and unpleasant in my mouth. I'm running as fast as I can. I have to get away. The moon is a sickle moon. Its cheek is pockmarked with acne scars. It looks down on me. It hangs overhead like a malformed knife. They're running behind me, and they're gaining. They're not even running hard. They spread out around me. They match their pace to mine, easily, without effort. They whisper my name. Ellie. Ellie. Just ahead is the rusty iron gate to the old playground I used to play on. I used to play on the swings when I was a little girl. They crowd me here. I don't know if the kids still use the swings. I stumble through the gate and into the playground. I just have to keep running, but I take a picture then. I can't help it. I take a picture, and it's just me and the gate and that sickle moon. No one at all behind me. I heard this story about a girl who went mad a few months ago. What girl? Her name was Ellie, and she was in my year at school. I didn't see much of her after that until they found her dead at the bottom of an old playground down my street one night, just a few months ago. Oh, I'm really sorry. It's all right. I really didn't know her that well. What was funny was, when I saw her, it was only for a moment before they zipped up the bag and took her away. It was her face, see? It was the scariest thing I've ever seen, her face. Here, look. Just before they zipped her up, I took a photo. Look. Oh, that's disgusting. I didn't put it on Facebook or anything. And those eyes? What is she doing with her mouth? I think she's screaming. She was still holding her phone when they found her, and even though she was broken up pretty bad. My cousin Dan works in the lab, and he said there were thousands of pictures on her phone. Thousands and thousands. He said the police could construct her last few months, almost moment by moment, following the pictures. They were mostly selfies, but some of them were pretty weird. Dan said maybe someone photoshopped them. After a while, they didn't even make sense. That's pretty vain, though. Yeah, I guess. You know what the really weird thing was, though? What? Well, a couple of days later, I was in the supermarket, and I thought I saw her. She was standing in the aisle by the cereal shelves, and she was talking on her phone. She was holding a box of Crunchy Nuts. I had this really queasy feeling when I saw her. I mean, it couldn't be her, right? Then it was like she knew I was standing there, and she turned and she gave me this smile. She had these uneven white teeth, and she had her hair in sort of a fringe. She used to be really pretty, but when she turned to look directly at me, it was her eyes. They were eggshells, without pupils or an iris. They were just entirely white and empty and flat. And she smiled. You're making it up. I had a can of Coke in my hand, and it fell and burst open, and it made a mess. And when I looked up again, she disappeared. Well, did you pay for the Coke? Yeah, I paid for the Coke. They buried her a few days later. I didn't go to the funeral. I mean, like I said, I never really knew her that well anyway. Picture number 1. This is right after I buy the phone. The shop behind me has a sign that says previously owned. I don't know if that's its name or a description, but it's accurate all the same. I'd gone to the mall just browsing. At the back of the lower level, all the way back, the shop's turned dusty and dark. There's a baby clothes store that hasn't seen a baby in years, and a shop for vegan supplies, and a video game store that's been permanently shut down. I'd not noticed this particular shop before. I go in, and it's filled with strange objects and all sorts of knickknacks, weird clockwork devices, and creepy voodoo dolls, and paintings of grotesque creatures, like something on the cover of a paperback. At first, I don't see anyone in the shop, but then I hear a cough, and this weird guy with long, horse-like face and pale, watery eyes appears behind the counter, almost like he'd been somehow cut out of the shadows and given form and pushed into the light. And he coughs again, and he says, "Can I help you, miss?" And I say, "Oh, I'm just browsing." And I see his face frown in displeasure, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. You're very pretty," he says suddenly. And I think I blush, and I shrug a little awkwardly. No, really," he says. "Well, thank you," I say. "Here," he says. He brings something out from behind the counter, and it's so startling in the shop among the old and dusty objects. It's a brand new phone. "Do you have one?" he says. "A phone?" "A phone like this one." No, I say. "I just have this old thing." "Then take this one," he says. "From me." "You mean for free?" "No," he says, and looks at me like I'm dim. "Of course not. I don't run a charity here." "Oh, I mean, very cheap," he says, and he pushes the phone at me aggressively. "Take it. Just take it." He scares me, so I take it, but as soon as I hold the phone, I feel better. It feels so smooth and warm, and it fits snugly into my palm. I swipe across the screen, and the icons blink back at me. I barely hear that awful man when he says the price, and like in a dream, I take out some money, and I give it to him. He said I was pretty, but I guess I never thought of myself as pretty. I mean, I didn't give it much thought one way or the other, really. I step out of the shop, and suddenly there is a light around me, and air. My finger itches. I hold up the phone in front of me and press the camera button, and it's like something wakes me up for the first time, and something inside me dies. I can't describe it. I don't need to. I press the button, and there's the image instead. Picture 736. In the last picture, I'm dead. Picture 112. Funny thing is, I go back to the spot where the shop was a few days later, and there was no sign of it. Here's me standing with the Cinnabon behind me, and the guy behind the counter said it's been there for the past year. In the picture, I'm biting my lip and looking worried. I had to keep clicking. I had to keep taking pictures, but the pictures were beginning to lie. Picture 447. "That was amazing, Ellie," Noah says. He looks hopped up or something. He gives me a beaming smile. And I say, "What are you talking about?" I snap a picture. Me standing there looking vaguely irritated in his kitchen. He has petunias on the windowsill. I don't like the way the light catches them. They look ill, and the sunlight is all blotchy. "Last night, you were amazing," Noah says. "I've never seen..." He blushes. "Where did you learn to do that?" he whispers. Comes close and puts his arm around me, and I can smell him, the smell of sweat and sex. I push him away, and I can feel the tears coming, even though I don't want them to. And I say, "But I wasn't here last night, Noah. Don't you remember? I went to the movies with Shelley, and I stayed at her place." And he says, "What?" And his hands drop to his sides, and he smiles and says, "You're just fucking with me." And then I burst into tears, and he's standing, looking confused and then angry. And he comes to me again, and I push him away, and I run up the stairs to his bedroom, and I see the rumpled sheets pinned to the mirror, and pinned to the mirror, a photo. It must have been taken last night and freshly printed. And I am posing for the camera, naked. One hand held suggestively between my legs, while the other is out of sight, holding the camera. And in the picture, I'm grinning into the camera, and my teeth are a predator's teeth, and my eyes are... Well, there's nothing in my eyes. I pull the photo from the mirror and I tear it up into tiny pieces that fall onto the floor at my feet. Picture 73. Dinner with my mom and dad and Noah. We're all smiling. Noah has his arm around me and he's grinning stupidly into the camera, and so am I. I'm feeling like there's a fire inside me, burning from the inside out, like a light falling on negative. And it's reaching everywhere. It's touching everything with light. Picture 501. Me in front of the mirror. But the picture is all wrong. This is after I left Noah's place and had gone home. I'm crying as I press the button, but the me in the mirror is smiling. Picture 210. This photo's a little blurry because I'm running. I'm on the street and a man is pursuing me. Picture 209. Blurry as I turn away from the man who's still speaking. Picture 208. He has a nervous, excited voice and keeps shouting about my phone. We're both caught in the photo, and for a moment his face is both almost erotically excited and incredibly terrified. Picture 207. A man approaches me in the street, but he's not in the photo. He wants to buy my phone. I can't really understand what he's saying. He is tall and thin with a straggly beard, and he smells as though he hasn't washed for a few days. He says his name is Farnsworth and that he's a collector. He keeps asking where I got my phone, and do I know what it is? I tell him it's just a phone, and he doesn't really listen. He says something about mimic objects and parasite mechanics and things that I don't understand. Dark chamber, he keeps saying. Dark chamber. And camera obscura. I don't know what any of this means. I start to turn away from him. I think, from the corner of my eye, I catch my reflection standing on the street corner, only there is no mirror there. Picture 600. There is someone standing outside my house under the street lamp, and I don't dare look. It's so quiet. It's so quiet and nothing moves. Nothing moves, but I know it's there. The silence is like a living thing or the echo of living things. It's like a dark chamber in my room, and the only illumination comes from outside. The light presses against the curtains. Something is standing outside under the lamp. I pull back the corner of the curtain, and I don't look out, but I take a picture. In the picture, something with my face is standing outside, and it's looking back at me, and it's smiling. Picture 342. Someone had slipped an envelope under my door in the night, and when I open it, I find a piece of paper inside, torn from a book. I'm holding it up next to my face. My eyes are so puffy. You can just about make out the letters. It says, "The Mad Jesuit, Father Alphonse, in a 16th century manuscript, Ambura Autumn Extempore, first wrote of the curious properties of a certain kind of light, or rather shadow or shadows. It is unclear in view in sometimes contradictory translations. He wrote the manuscript while incarcerated in a monastery in the bogs of Scotland, where he was held for blasphemy for several years. In it, he describes a device which he claimed to have constructed, a sort of optical instrument, or camera obscura, that is to say, a dark chamber, for the capture of such anti-light or shadows, or possibly, in some translations, notably the French Guerreau manuscript of 1653, a soul. The mad Jesuit committed suicide, or perhaps was killed, the record is obscure, by falling from the top of the monastery to the bogs down below. How he made his way from the stout walls of the cellars that imprisoned him to the top, undetected, is unclear, nor is there any sign of the device found after his death. Though he himself was eventually found and buried, for many months afterwards, local peasants reported the unsettling sight of a man answering Father Alphonse's description being seen far and wide, sometimes in the midst of night and sometimes, plainly, in the height of day. But the figure never spoke, or if it had, no one had recorded its words. I don't know what it means. It's gibberish. Picture 655. It's blurry because my hand is shaking so much you can't make out anything. Picture 415. Farnsworth again. I point the phone at him and he shrieks and runs before I can take his picture, so I take mine instead. Picture 416. And another. Picture 417. And another. Picture 418. And another. With each one, I feel better and worse, like I'm being cut up into a lot of tiny little pieces, and bits of me are lost there. Lost like there is me, and me, and me, and another. Picture 12. Standing in the park in the sunshine with my new phone, and I'm so happy. Everything is going to be all right. Picture 469. Me with a crying face. Dark. I have red eyes. It's night. I've just been awoken. Farnsworth is outside. And he's shouting. And Akiri is a spirit torn from your soul by a curse who now lives independently. In some cultures, they believe that every photo takes away a little bit of your soul. I'll pay you anything, he says. I could hear a dog barking. Give it to me! His voice is so lonely and so desperate. Then the dog stops barking suddenly, and Farnsworth gives a high-pitched shriek. I don't have to look outside to see what he sees. Picture 652. Outside the supermarket. Picture 653. I go into the supermarket and I bump into a customer and I mumble, sorry. And then when I look just for a moment, she looks back at me and she smiles with my face. Picture 654. My hand is shaking. A shot of me against the supermarket shelves. Shoppers pushing carts loaded with food and cans and cereal. One by one, they stop and raise their heads and look up at me. They all smile with my face. They have no eyes. Someone whispers my name. Ellie. Ellie. I run. Picture 729. In one of the last pictures I'm running, the road spreads out ahead of me and the sleeping suburban homes. The moonlight is sucked into the asphalt. I run, the only sound of beating of blood in my head. The air is scented with jasmine. Ahead of me is the old playground where we used to play. I don't look back when I take the picture, but I know they're there.
Ooh, is that how it comes to an end?
That's how it ends.
Wow, okay. I was waiting for yet even more, or even the other two like kids or whatever start talking back up again.
Yeah, it's like a story that unfolds kind of in a consecutive way, non-chronological kind of way. So I definitely, when you said camera obscura, I'm like, they're talking about like actual real stuff, like for realsies. This was a concern in the early days of cameras coming to be in existence. Camera obscuras were these like boxes that's what they did, is in order to capture an image, light had to bounce off of that image and through a small tunnel in this dark box that through a chemical process would capture basically the negative of that image, the shadow image in this dark box, and you have to reverse it to get like any kind of color or any kind of image or what it would be the negative. It would be the negative. So you had to do a chemical thing to like reverse it back to a positive image. So I was like, no, this is like an actual thing. And there was legitimate concern. I think this was in the Victorian era between the French and the English, that, especially in the Victorian era, because they were obsessed with death in England. But they believed that because you were capturing an image, it must be capturing a part of the real world. And when that involved real people capturing a part of another person, well, I'm physically all still here, so what part of me could it be capturing? Could it be capturing my soul? They were a very religious bunch, and that was like a legitimate concern at one point in time. I figured that derived from something historical, and that's kind of why one reason why I picked the story. I liked the fusion of some of that historical element as well as the modern day cell phone stuff.
Yeah, the idea that this old guy's running around. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but just trying to find this old piece of thing that did exist, but this is a cell phone equivalent. Right.
So I do want to give the quick credit where it's due. This is Selfies. This was written by Levy. It's Lavie Tadar, Tidhar. So
Lavie Tadar.
Lavie Tadar. So yeah, that's this kind of freaked me out a little bit when I was reading through it, and I thought, this is pretty unique. I like how it's structured as well. You're kind of going back and forth from random pictures, but they still help build context. And yeah, that's it.
It makes you think too, unique. what happens to the phone now? Maybe I missed it, but there's no indication that would have happened. What would have happened to it? Like the kids didn't find it again, or maybe Farnsworth picked it up or something. Like, what's happened to this phone? What's going to happen to the next person that gets this? You know, are they going to meet the same fate?
Right.
And then, the compulsive need to keep taking selfies. What was causing that? Why couldn't she stop? You know.
Right. I don't know. And my biggest guess, because I kind of wondered that too. Like, where's the story with the phone going? And I thought the person that I think has it now, that those two friends that have that conversation at the beginning where she says that, you know, she sees her at the supermarket. She says her cousin went through the phone. So, and it sounds like at the very beginning when the girl actually gets the phone, when Ellie gets the phone, she says she immediately feels relaxed and all this. So I'm assuming it's as soon as you touch it, it's on you, right? The curse is on you. And so I'm assuming that's technically who it goes to, is the girl's cousin.
It actually weirdly reminds me of like Jumanji, right? Like once you start playing, you have to finish.
Yeah, seriously. I get that, yeah. I'm actually even going to send you, here's the image that comes with it. There's like a little like image that comes with it. I just sent it to you via Discord, which that picture is kind of what caught my attention.
It's a sort of skeletal hand reaching out through a cell phone, grabbing this girl by the face and forcing her to like look, and her eyes are just blank eggshells.
Yep. So we both had the theme of smiling.
Yeah, actually, hilariously, mine was about a smiling man. Yours was about a girl taking selfies where even if she wasn't the one smiling, suddenly everyone else around her was. Weird how that works.
That is weird how that works. That is very strange. Once again, there's something that's very scary about the simplistic nature of a smile, though. Like, because a smile can mean so many things if you want it to, you know? So it's interesting.
So, dear listener, if you go out tonight on the eve of Halloween, or perhaps even tomorrow night on All Hallows Eve, keep an eye out. And hold yourself aware of anyone who might be smiling strangely in your direction. Perhaps they do not mean you well.
A few pieces of advice. First of all, don't just buy a random phone off a guy at a mall. Don't do that. Avoid that. Maybe avoid being out in the city alone. Don't do that either. At least not late at night.
That was another thing about your story, right? The guy says, "No, I'm not stupid. It's not free, it's cheap. Here, take it." So she takes it. She doesn't pay money for it. So
no, she does. You might have missed that. She does pay for it.
Okay.
She does.
Are you sure?
She talks about, she says, I was so just enthralled with the phone that I forgot that I paid him.
Oh, okay. Maybe I just forgot or whatever. Because for a moment there, I was like, does she even pay for it? Or is he going to like steal her soul or something? Okay, maybe I got wrapped up in my own theory that I forgot she paid.
No, that's right. Yeah. She, like I said, she gets wrapped up in her phone. So she just kind of pulls out her money and pays. She said, I feel like I'm in a dream. I don't even realize I'm paying him. Yeah, it's right there. So, but either way, I want to know. Yeah, it's very strange. Some questions. Also, it might have been kind of hard to follow because I'm not here to critique the story. I like the story quite a bit, but there's a few what I would consider to be nearly run-on sentences. They go on forever. So there's a lot of details that happen in those sentences, and it can kind of go on and on. So.
Well, that was like an odd point that I had while you were reading it, which there is definitely a difference between like if you're reading something, you can visually see the words versus if you're listening like we are.
Yeah.
So like there's definitely something there. If this were going to be reconstructed for audio, I think there's perhaps a different way to go about it, maybe. But I think it's... what I had in mind is that I was wondering if a lot of what you were reading, the picture, it's blurry because I'm running. Are these supposed to be captions to the pictures that the people, when they pick up her phone and discover, when she's dead already, people find her phone, they're going through her phone. Are these the captions of the pictures? Maybe she didn't even read them. They could have been like her soul being captured. So like it's what's happening and it's the caption of the photo. And that... I don't know. That's what I was wondering.
That's exactly how I perceived it when I read it. And I think if you would have read it before you heard it, you would immediately go, oh, this is the cap. Yes. I'm pretty sure that's the intention.
because that's where you get like the run-on stuff. Like if you've got things that aren't quite full sentences or whatever, if you've ever captioned a photo and you're just like, I'm just to make a quick note what this photo was for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Very, very
just kind
interesting.
of the stream of consciousness. Yeah. So,
well,
yeah. That's it.
That's it. That's our 2 stories, everybody. Very creepy, spooky stories to end this episode on. It's Halloween tomorrow. Go get lots of candy.
Let's end on a light note. Get lots of candy.
Get lots of candy and smile at everyone you see.
Smile at everybody you see.
If you want to listen to this podcast in places that you're not listening to it right now, we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Anchor. You can follow us on our socials at Twitter and Instagram with at Profoundish Pod. If you would like to follow me at everything that I do, I have a gaming YouTube channel, my own podcast, some poetry, blah, blah, blah. I have a website at westonhasty.com. And you can follow everything that Alex does
at great place to go. You can either go to my YouTube channel, you can just type in my name, Alex Duquette, or you can go to my hub, alexduquette.net. Music stuff. I do a live stream show, all kinds of things. One thing I want to say, too, back to the Profoundish thing really quick, be sure if you're listening on the podcast platform side, Spotify, Apple, give us a rating. That really does help. Really helps kind of show people our podcast, and we think we have something special. We'd love more people to see it. So definitely leave that rating. That goes a long way.
Follow, 5 stars, subscribe, like button, whatever you've got, do those things.
Do it. Do it.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good luck.
Bye. Bye. Good luck.
Bye. Don't die.
Don't die. Smile away.
I'm smiling.